Hello, for our learning experience project, it'll be on playing the guitar. And I'd like to introduce my classmates, Jorge and Scott, and myself, Gabriel.
In this experiment, we will have an individual who is inexperienced with playing the guitar. As people conducting the experiment, we evaluate the learners in their first stage of learning because the subject doesn't have proper hand placement, proper timing to perform the chords, and also how to perform the certain chord at the certain time. The experiment, we want the subject to learn how to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with only using two chords. We also have object manipulation in our project. We will be utilizing a 6-string guitar to perform the song. To play the guitar, there are multiple steps and there's complex actions to achieve the goal of playing the guitar. Playing the guitar is a closed environment since its actions are predictable and expected. This is also considered a closed loop control because there's time for adjustments to be made. If the scenario is professional performing this task with an audience, this action would be considered a closed loop because there would be time to correct the errors if they occur. For example, if our subject is performing and perform the wrong chord, they would still have time to quickly adjust to the proper chord. The subject has a small experience of playing a guitar. Although he doesn't have plenty prior experiences with using a guitar, they are capable of reading a music sheet and tuning a guitar. Using these two prior experiences, we will use a music sheet as a way to aid the subject in learning how to play. The two stages that we'll be working on with the learner are the cognitive stage and the associative stage. Since the learner is inexperienced with using the guitar, these two beginning stages will assist the learner. The subject may become frustrated, forgetful, and may become nervous throughout the testing. We will be able to evaluate these factors in each stage of their skill. Since our learner is in the first stage of learning, they are expected to make numerous mistakes, but if they repeat the same mistakes constantly without growth, then we'll find other methods to teach the learner how to perform the skill. We can see nervousness and forgetfulness in the second stage with a learner making clear errors while playing chords that are improper with improper hand placement.
There are 5 types of feedback: knowledge of results, knowledge of performance, corrective feedback, and positive feedback, and terminal feedback. How feedback will be used. In the first stage, we will be using knowledge of results, knowledge of performance, and positive feedback. In the second stage, we will be using corrective feedback and positive feedback. And finally, in the third stage, we will be using corrective feedback, terminal feedback, and knowledge of performance. First stage, knowledge of results, knowledge of performance, and positive feedback. We will be using knowledge of results in the first stage because it provides information about the outcome, and we will say things like, you played the chord correctly. We will use knowledge of performance because it gives the beginner information about their movement pattern, and we will say things like, your finger placement was accurate. We will use positive feedback because it reinforces what was done well, and it is important in maintaining the beginner engaged and happy to learn. We will say things like, good job maintaining the rhythm of the song. These types of feedbacks will be used more frequent in the first stage than the other stages because in the beginner stage, it is important to maintain the learner's interest. Over time, we will use less knowledge of results and positive feedback. It is necessary to guide the learner in the first stage, and over time, we will reduce frequent feedback to encourage self-assessment. Second stage, corrective feedback and positive feedback. We will be using corrective feedback and positive feedback in the second stage because it addresses any persistent errors and to prevent any bad habits. Positive feedback is essential in providing them with confidence and encourages them to keep on learning. We will say things like, slow down, you're rushing through the chord changes. And for positive feedback, we will continue saying positive comments like, you played these chords very good. Third stage, corrective feedback, terminal feedback, and knowledge of performance. We will be using corrective feedback, terminal feedback, and knowledge of performance. Corrective feedback will be used to focus on advanced techniques. Terminal feedback will be used after performing the song in order to give corrections and review the performance. Knowledge of performance will be used in order to maintain advanced techniques, but not used as often since they are in the advanced stage. We will be using words like, your technique is very good, keep on trying to master it, and perform more difficult songs to improve. Great job maintaining the same intensity throughout the song. Your finger independence is great, but in some complex chords, there is a slight delay. Focus on performing these chords slowly in order to move all fingers simultaneously to improve your coordination. Using these words in the third stage is optimal in keeping the learner motivated to improve. And since they are in the advanced stage, positive feedback isn't needed as much, but more so feedback to improve their skills.
Whole practice versus part practice. Now here's the explanation. The reason we're using a whole and part practice to teach a subject is because it would be easier for them to understand how to play at an appropriate rate. Since our subject is in the first stages of learning, part practice would be ideal because it would not overwhelm our subject and would make playing the proper chords easier to memorize and perform. As the learner progresses in their skill, they will practice performing Twinkle Star using whole practice because then they will be able to put together what they had obtained from you doing the tasks in portions. Now here are the implementations. At the beginning of the experiment, we will have the subject practice portions of Twinkle Star, making sure they can memorize parts before moving on to performing the complete song. During part practice, we will have an instructor to ensure the subject's hand placement is correct on the neck and body of the guitar. We then have the subject attempt to practice, noting any errors made throughout their session. Now, part practice, here are the steps by segmentation. 1. We will conduct trials for proper hand placement. 2. We will have the subject pick up the guitar with proper placement and practice performing one section. And 3. We will have them perform the first 2 steps, then play the second section until eventually reaching the final section. With whole practice, we will put together all of the steps and perform the song multiple times. Part 3. The analysis on part practice. Now, the procedure for this experiment consisted of a classmate acting as the role of an instructor for the test subject as he learns to play the song on guitar with the part practice style of learning. We divided the song into 3 sections while also having the subject play each section about 3 times. Once the subject had gone through the whole song, he will then try to attempt to play the full song in one go. Any errors or inconsistencies will be recorded and compared to how the test subject learns the song with the whole practice style of learning. Now on the bottom left is the sheet music that the subject had looked at while practicing, and we used as a guide to help section the song for the subject. Now on the top right, I shall show you a video on how the practice session went about for the subject.
Alright, so I want you to play the song 3 times. And first, I want to make sure your finger placement is good on the guitar, and just make sure your hands are in the right positions. And now, make sure the guitar is like securely on your lap.
Okay.
Make sure you have a good grip. Now, I want you to play the first section on the sheet.
All right. I'll go ahead and do that now.
Alright, that's good. Alright, do it one more time. Yeah.
One more time. Okay, I got you.
That's okay. It's alright, to really make sure you got it, we're going to do it one more time.
Okay, I got you.
That's good though. Alright, that's nice.
Okay.
On to the next section. Alright, similar to what you did to the first section, we want to make sure your hand placement is right.
Okay.
And yeah, make sure your hands placement is right and it's securely on your lap. Alright. Alright, since you have all that good, you just have to go to the next section of the song. I just want you to play the second one.
Okay, I'll start now. Okay.
Alright, can you do it one more time?
Okay. Oh, that's done.
That's alright, you can do it. Alright, that's good. Alright. I just need one more attempt on it.
One more attempt, okay.
Alright, that's good. Now we're gonna go on to the next one. Alright, so we're gonna do the same thing we did for the last 2 sections for this last part. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna make sure your hand placement's good again and make sure it's securely on your lap. Nice. Now we're gonna have you play the last section of the song.
Next section, okay. I'll give it a go.
good. All right, can you do it? We're gonna do it 2 more times.
Two more times, okay.
Nice. All right, one more time. All right, that was nice. All right, now we're gonna put all those 3 sections together and play them all at once.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, make sure your hand placement's good.
Mhm.
Securing your lap.
Mhm.
All right, now you can start.
All right.
Nice, nice.
Okay.
Alright. Now, upon review, the subject exhibited proper placement of his hands and was able to play the first section of the song with only one minor error, which had stopped his momentum for the subject for a moment. Now, he did show some signs of struggling in the second section of the song, showing him making consistent errors throughout his session. The subject played well in the final section of the song, but still showed some signs of conscious awareness, which may have resulted in him making errors. Part 3. The analysis on whole practice. First off, I would like to show you a video on how the subject's practice session went about.
Alright, now we're gonna put all those 3 sections together and play them all at once.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, make sure your hand placement's good. Securing your lap.
Mhm.
Alright, now you can start.
All right.
Nice, nice.
Okay.
Alright, yeah, now we're just gonna 2 more times. Make sure you really understand it.
Okay. This?
Alright, one more time. That was good. One more time.
One more time. Okay.
Alright, so we're gonna do the whole practice one last time.
One last time. Okay.
Nice.
Upon
Alright, now.
Upon watching the video, there are potential factors that you have to consider. The subject used whole practice after having a section with part practice, and the rest time for the subject when he moved from part practice to whole practice was about 30 minutes. Now, on review on the video, the subject made errors through his trials practicing the song, but was consistent nevertheless. Mind you, the subject had previously practiced the song using part practice, so there may be a chance that the subject was able to retain some of the knowledge from his previous lessons and integrate it into whole practice. When we had got to comparing part practice with whole practice, there were some things we found between the two. With part practice, we found out it was the personal preference for the subject. The subject liked the segmented aspect of the practice, but with it, he generally showed more signs of errors in their playing, but was able to perfectly execute the full length of the song after practicing each section separately before combining. With whole practice, we found that the subject does not prefer this style of learning, and instead prefers to take it step by step with part practice. The subject was able to play the full length of the song 3 times with less errors compared to part practice, but this may be because the subject had practiced the song using part practice before moving on to whole practice. Now, in the last trial, the subject had made many inconsistencies compared to the last trial of part practice. Now, for our conclusion, when we had interviewed our test subject, he stated that he generally preferred learning the song through part practice as he felt it was the most appropriate method for him to start with, considering he was a beginner. He found it manageable and less overwhelming compared to whole practice. Although the subject made more errors compared to part practice, when it came time to executing the song in its entirety, he was able to learn from his previous mistakes and play decently with only minor errors. When the subject transitioned to whole practice, he retained some of the skills he had developed during part practice, which may explain why he was able to play more consistently and with fewer errors. However, during the final trial of whole practice, the subject made significantly more errors compared to the final trial of part practice. Based on these observations, we conclude that part practice played a more significant role than whole practice in the supporting the subject's learning process.